So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys the fit right now. Ain't I the nicest? Well, you're gonna see it later. See, ain't I the nicest? Show enough. Ain't I the fittest, the coolest, the stylishest? Oh, don't let the copyright music distract you. Don't let the copyright music take away everything. Stupid booty. Okay, so I'm in the employee area right now, and you typically can't. This is emergency exit only, but I'm gonna walk out right now because nothing's gonna go off. But yeah, I'm trying to avoid the copyright, so I'll probably talk out here, and I'll try to make this quick because, well, it's 2:15, so I should end this video hours before I start work, since I start today at 5:45, not 5:15. So I'll have several hours in advance, but shit, it's too windy out here. So there's speakers every 10 fucking feet on the ceiling in the restaurant. The place I was sitting yesterday was mathematically and strategically the furthest from other speakers. I just so happened to be. It wasn't on purpose. I only sat there because I was close to the outlets in the wall. But if I sit in that place today, there's a mailman eating his lunch and he's going to hear every word I'm saying. He's sitting with his back towards me on the other side of the wall where customers are allowed to sit. The other option is to sit outside where it's super cold and super windy. So not only will my fingers be freezing, but you'll barely be able to hear me. And it'll look weird with me walking around with an iPad and a phone. So the other option left is to sit here in the sun, but I'm going to be pretty much directly under one of the microphones. Like, look, this is one microphone, and this is another fucking microphone. You see how prolific they are scattered, how closely packed all of them are. Like, so yeah, I chose the third option because that's the place where I sat yesterday, and you can see I sat back there in the corner, and you see how he would be able to hear everything I'm saying. So just consider this a talking head video. So I got in the shower this morning, just minding my business, trying to avoid everybody as per usual. When I was about to get finished, there was a bald guy who came in and said, "These people nasty as F." And then he asked me if my shower was clear over here. I told him it's still a few empty bottles down here, like shampoo bottles, because a lot of people leave packets of soap and shampoo bottles on the floor. And after I was done, I put both towels on and I started brushing. I was about to brush my teeth. One guy said, "This guy's brushing his teeth over here. You gotta go, man. You can't be brushing your teeth here. The world doesn't revolve around you." Now, mind you, I was in the very back of all the showers. I was in the very back by the wall. And I was wondering what his deal was. I was like, chill out. So I chose to leave and go to one of the sinks. He was like, "You got to go to the sink." I was like, I don't even want to have an issue with him. But I was still saying, as I was walking, I was like, chill out, man. And he was telling me to go brush my teeth by the sink. I was like, it stinks over there. He was like, it stinks everywhere. And then one of the older gentlemen sitting on the bench was like, "Hey, just let him brush his teeth over there." But the bald guy who was talking to me was still being aggravated, I guess. I didn't know him, and I didn't know if he was just having a bad day. So I brushed my teeth by the sink, did my mouthwash, and then I was sitting down on the benches getting ready. The other bystanders who saw the first part of that interaction had already left. And when the bald guy came out of the shower, I said, "You good?" And he said, "No." And then somebody else said, "What's wrong, man?" And then the bald guy said, I'm good, man. It's just too early for this BS." He said the full words, but he said it's too early for the BS. And then I said, "Was it something I did?" And then he He said it a second time. He was like, the world doesn't revolve around you. I'm not even thinking about you, man. And then I said, I was just trying to brush my teeth. And then he said, not in the shower. I mean, look at this. It, well, it's a 5 letter word for black people. I mean, he said, I mean, look at this guy. He's washing his ass in the sink. That's vice versa on the same side. What he meant was like, that's vice versa of what I'm doing. And then he said, that's vice versa on the same side. It's a shower right there. And then I said, it's too early to be angry, man. And then he said, I ain't angry. I can show you angry. I ain't angry. I'm happy. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? And then I said, you don't got to tell me you can, well, when he first said that, when he first said, I can show you angry, I said, you don't got to tell me you can show me angry. And then he said, after that, he said, I ain't angry. He said, I ain't angry. I'm happy. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? And then I, I said it a second time. I said, don't tell me that. Don't tell me you can show me angry. And then he said, that ain't what I meant. He said, and then he was like, I'm showing you compassion. But then I continued to press the issue of what he actually said. And then after that, he started backpedaling all of a sudden. He wasn't trying to be as much of a tough guy now. He was like, that ain't what I meant. I'm showing you love. You know what I'm saying? Everybody ain't got no structure around here. You know what I'm saying? And then I said, I just like my privacy. And then he said, me too. And then I said, but somebody already left the sink, so I'm cool using the sink. And then I said, I understand you because I gotta work and stuff. And then he was like, that's a real bro on God. And then I told him, I don't got no problems with anybody in here. And then he said, me too. So I said, so I just try to be cool with everybody. And then I discovered what was probably bugging him for the whole day. He told me someone in his dorm was walking around all night looking for his bunk. He said somebody was walking around all night looking for his bunk, and he's sleeping in that MFer. Then there was an old man in the bathroom that said, what? And then the bald man said, that's why I'm up. He woke me up standing on top of me. So that's what was bugging him originally. So a lot of times it's just people having a bad day. And I'm glad that I didn't match that aggression. And that was pretty much the end of the conversation. Now, when I confronted him about what he said, about how he can show me what angry looks like, he could have been like, oh, I said what I said, and you can take it however you want to take it. But he didn't. He instead retraced his steps and took more of a peaceful tone when he saw that I was confronting him about that, which is a good thing. I mean, it shows self-control on his part, just like how I could have said, oh, you don't know me. You don't tell me what to do. Get out of my face and leave me alone. I'll be done brushing my teeth and using mouthwash in less than 5 minutes, which I'll probably tell him next time. We'll see how that goes. I'll just tell him I was being respectful the first time since I never spoke to you before. Well, we spoke very briefly. But next time, if he does tell me to move, I'll just let him know I'll be done in less than 5 minutes. And maybe I'll be like, what are you going to do if I don't want to move? That would be a little out of character for me. But because I don't mind him wanting to shower by himself or him feeling weird about me brushing my teeth a few stalls down while he's showering. But saying I can show you what I can show you angry is more in line with a threat as far as I'm concerned. And all the people that saw the first part of the interaction probably thought I got punked or something. Oh, like he got punked, he got pushed around or whatever. I'm personally not worried about that because that's just ego. I'm not trying to look like a tough guy. And I did not repeat the second part of that story to anybody else physically, to any of the people who left halfway through while the bald guy was still in the shower. Because I'm not trying to make myself out to be that tough guy. People who People who left the interaction halfway can think whatever they want, really. They don't know about that second part, and I don't know them super personally. And one of them tried to stick up for me, so that's good. And the bald guy will probably explain it in a certain way where he leaves out the part where I confronted him on what he said, but whatever. I don't know him personally either. I prefer to interact with people who look very upstanding. And this guy himself, he was telling me to brush my teeth somewhere else. The funny thing is, he had one tooth in the front. He was missing most of his teeth. Is someone behind me? Oh, that mailman left. But yeah, I prefer to be around people who look upstanding, who look clean. There's a lot of people who actually have decent faces. They look like they're in shape, but then they open their mouth and it's just black. They have almost no teeth, like burned away from like tobacco and nicotine and stuff like that. A few yellow spikes, but lots of missing teeth and just black spots where teeth usually are. It's like a freak show inside of their mouth, but they look normal with their mouth closed. They look like a normal, young, in shape, fit man, a lot of them. Or even not in shape, but they just look regular until they open up their mouth. That guy had one tooth. But yeah, my throat is getting like so sore just from talking. But yeah, the thing is, I believe war is necessary, but it's just not my first option. Like, before I even got in the shower, there was a security guard who is very cool with me. He was talking to an older gentleman, and the security was telling the older gentleman they were having a conversation. The security said, "I look at you based on who you hang around. Like, if I see you hanging around with him," and then he pointed at me. And then security said, "I'm going to know you're a good person." And the older gentleman was nodding his head because we had interacted positively before. This older gentleman was the same one that stood up for me when I was in the bathroom with that crazy man who's scooting his feet around from the other video. And then security said, "But if I see you hanging around with," and then he started scooting his feet around like that weird guy I was talking about with the golden fork in his hair. Security was like, "If I see you hanging with, if you got a cigarette, then I'm gonna say no, even though I have a cigarette." So that's what security was saying. It's funny how he mentioned that same crazy guy. Also, I noticed something funny yesterday. There's people who struggle with relationships, right? And that's something that can be studied from a scientific perspective. Like, that's something that you can also have an honest social conversation about how to improve that. But the ones that are the most popular, unfortunately, are the ones that have reacted angrily and blame women and stuff, like specifically men looking for sex with women. And those guys have built the biggest followings around those types of conversations about dating, whether the following was built after they took their own lives or while they are alive. That sort of makes people not even want to engage with you if you bring up those conversations. They don't even want to, they don't see the nuance in that. They just see that one extreme side. Those are the type of hater. I had one hater who was like that. But if you struggle with relationships, you're not going to fix it by simping, like chasing after women who don't like you or leading with your money, or being overly persistent with a woman that you have not interacted with that long. At least that's my opinion. And the best way to cope with it is not by becoming angry at women or developing violent beliefs or wanting to do violent things. I mean, geez, at that point, just pay for play, to be honest. I can't even be mad at you if you felt like there was nothing else. It's better than becoming one of those weird people. I mean, the bad kind of weird, because there's a good kind of weird, a funny, goofy, nerdy kind of weird. But yeah, at least you don't have to pay for 3 dates and get nothing or something like that. Maybe it will be a little bit more favorable for someone to voluntarily interact with you in an intimate way for free, but there's other ways. Like, you could also stick to adult content. Stick to adult content. I mean, like, I'm definitely going to be rich and in shape in 10 years. Those things attract women, I guess. But even if I don't attract women, guess what? I'm never going to worry about bills again. I still don't have to worry about health problems either, because I'll be in shape, I'll be doing good and eating good. If I dress nice, I might get a model. It might get me a modeling contract or something. Like if I learn game, like how to talk to people, if I get better at that, it's going to help me land jobs and help me sell things better. Even if it doesn't help me with women immediately, it could still help in the future because women get with all type of guys who don't check those boxes. Bro, it'll be the biggest artist in the world. Like, bro, I need to jam this Wi-Fi so this music can fucking cut off. Like, you're already signed to a record deal. Everyone doesn't need to hear you at every second. But yeah, I spoke to a case manager today for we had our first meeting where they looked over like how much money I have because they're helping me they said it's not necessarily about the percentage, just the amount I have saved. Because I was trying to calculate it, but then they they reiterated that to pay rent and stuff. And then I told him, I was like, I've paid rent before and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm after my first check I showed him all of that. And then I also want to mention I the thing about me is I never ignore women who show interest in me first on dating apps. Usually not. There was one who liked me, but she was super big and there were no full body pictures. So I could already tell she was one of those big girls with no ass. And I bring that up because there's one dating app where you can look at people who like certain people who liked you for a certain amount of time. And I've gotten a lot of likes from dark skinned black women and brown skinned black women. And I already told you guys in a previous video that I usually don't go for that group. And one of the worst things one of the worst things to realize that you're talking to is a woman that's not super attractive, like a woman with like a larger stomach and yoga pants but with no ass. Like one of the worst things is to be like that and for her to think like one of the worst things is to be like that and for her to think she's all that in a bag of peanuts.